Good afternoon, St. Louis, and welcome in to Cards Hub Postgame on Sports Hub STL, presented by Hot Shots, all the games, all the time, home of STL sports fans since 1990. Check out your closest location at hotshotsnet.com. And, of course, DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Check out the Pick Six app right now. I'm Matthew Rocchio. That is, of course, Bernie Miklasz, and we're here to break down the Cardinals falling 2-1. But overall, I think it's going to be a positive show, Bernie, as they wrap up the road trip 7-2 and are on the way back to Busch with all positive feelings after the road run here. How are you doing today, Bernie?
I'm doing good, man. Good to work with you, and great to do one of the Cardinals live streams. That's my first shot. I love it. So. Listen, we can find some things to nitpick because, when a team wins so much, you tend to get greedy. I know I do a little bit. So I was disappointed that the offense today, had 12 hits and a walk, but scored one run. I mean, they left 13 on base. They were 0 for 8 with runners and scoring. Okay, so we can spend a minute like kind of being ticked off about that, but I don't want to miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, when they left town, we all knew that this was going to be a really big road trip because at this point they hadn't been all that great on the road as a team. And they started to get a little bit going on the road, the previous road trip, but they had a lot to prove. And, the road trip was 3 cities, 9 games, 10 days. 2 of the teams had winning records. 2 of the teams were having really good seasons. And the Cardinals won 7 out of 9. Now, I'll take you go 9 games on the road. I don't care who you are. You go 7-2. It's a hell of a road trip. So I'm kind of with you in that I'm pretty positive about the whole thing. We can be pragmatic and talk about some other things, but I don't know what the heck people would want. If you told everybody in a Cardinals fan, so well, they're going to go on this road trip, and there's some questions about can they win? Can they be really consistent on the road? And if you would have told them, hey, what if I told you they would go 7-2? I think 99. I got to leave some room for some whiners, but I'd say 95% of the sane people out there would have actually said, "Are you kidding me? Of course, that's a great road trip."
Yeah, it was fantastic, and there's a lot of positives to take from today, even though it was a loss. For me, one of the big things I wanted to talk about, just because it continues to be fun, and earlier this week on the morning show with Randy and Brooke, we had some fun with the whole, let's regrade the Matthew Liberatore and Arozarena trade because we have to have some fun with it. But just being realistic and just overall just, breaking it down, Matthew Liberatore has been fantastic, throwing up the run he's had here in May. That first start where he only went 3 innings pitched, not a great start, but he also didn't get a chance to finish it off and maybe go 6 innings and make it look a little bit better. So 3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts and a walk, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, 5 1/3, 4 strikeouts and a walk. And today, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run allowed, 6 hits allowed, 5 strikeouts and a walk. Matthew Liberatore just continues to kill it, and today was no different.
He's been one of the best starting pitchers in baseball, and that's not any kind of hype. And this doesn't include today's stats because I didn't have time to work up a new fielding independent ERA, but he entered today's game where he had the 7th best fielding independent ERA of a starting pitcher, qualified inning starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. He also had a situation where, if you look at, he just doesn't walk many guys, and he has a pretty good strikeout rate, but his strikeout walk ratio is excellent. He keeps the ball in the ballpark. He's got one of the lowest home run rates allowed among us. He's in the top 10 in that category. So quietly, he's a top 10 Major League starter this year. Whether people want to recognize it or not, I go by, the stats that I think tell the story, and he's been top 10, and he's only getting better and better and better and better. So yeah, he was great today, and the maturity rock that he shows, when he gets into trouble now, you say, oh man, you would think back maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, it'd be like, well, boy, he's probably not going to be able to get out of this. But he gets a couple guys on. It doesn't faze him at all. He does not lose any focus or composure whatsoever. He's a tough-minded guy who's very confident right now. And I would say he's the Cardinals' best starting pitcher. I don't know if you agree with that or not, because some people would say Sonny Gray, but I would go with Matthew Liberatore. The bottom line is they got two really good 1 and 2 starters, I think.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I love taking a look over at the baseball savant numbers for Matthew Liberatore. And there's a lot of red, and red's good. On the
Yep.
baseball savant graphs, red's good. There's a lot of red with Matthew Liberatore. You mentioning maturity, though, kind of answered a question that I was about to ask, which was the difference between Matthew Liberatore in 2025. And is it just him finally getting the chance combined with that maturity, or is there something in there that he has kind of that is breaking from what we saw in all his career numbers before 2025 that has improved, that's allowing him to make this jump?
I thought that last season he established confidence as a major league pitcher for the first time, where he was really confident. And I'm talking about his work in the bullpen. He took on every situation. Nothing really left him frazzled. He was still having problems against right-handed pitchers. Right-handed hitters. But he had confidence last year, and I thought he was ready for a shot. I was, among many people who thought, why don't they give him a chance to be a starting pitcher? And he made it work by developing some other pitches, by making a couple of his secondary pitches really good, which helped him kind of neutralize right-handed batters, and he's done a great job with that. So you're seeing a guy who's like, the time is right for him. Like, this is his moment. He's been waiting for this for a long time. The Cardinals deserve credit for giving him this shot. They probably waited too long to give him the shot, but he was helping them in the bullpen last season, and they had a hell of a bullpen. So I can't go too nuts on that. But it's just like the perfect timing of a guy reaching his maturity and reaching a real high confidence level, and also understanding how to put an assortment of pitches together that's going to just kind of leave hitters guessing. Like, he's really good at the mental part of this now, sort of the chess match part of this now. So you're looking at a really complete pitcher from what we've seen this year. He's just a complete starting pitcher.
Keeps upping his K percentage. It was one of the worst ones in Major League Baseball in 2023. He's just 16.7%. He's upped it to 23% this year. He's dropped his walk percentage from 7.8% last year to 3.8% this year. I mean, the strikeout and walk numbers really do jump off the page when you look at his game by game this entire season, not just May. You go the entire season. He's commanding the strike zone, and I think that's been one big thing for him. And combine that with the fact that he has the stuff to not get rocked while he's putting stuff in the strike zone, and I think that's why he's having such a successful 2025.
Yeah, he's hardly given up any home runs at all. And I mentioned the strikeout walk ratio. He's one of the best in baseball with that. And so that's why with him, I think the fair way to measure him is fielding independent ERA, simply because the things that he can control, he has controlled exceptionally well. Right? He keeps the ball in the ballpark. He doesn't walk people, and he has a good, healthy strikeout rate. So that's basically, for people who don't know about fielding independent ERA, they don't care about it. That I'm explaining it. I mean, that's why that applies to him in a way that like truly represents how well he's pitched. So he'll be lower even in fielding independent ERA in the major league rankings among starters. As of Monday morning. So it's been he's been one of the clearly one of the highlights, the short list of highlights for the Cardinals in 2025. And he was pitching well before they started winning as a team. So he kind of jumped out there really quick as a guy who was going to make his statement in 2025.
You mentioned on Friday with Brooke and Randy that by the relief pitching and maybe expect a little bit of some regression elsewhere because of the defense has been so good for the starting pitching. And so I think today was interesting because I was thinking about that as Wilson Contreras continues to play great first base, probably better than anyone really expected. He has that great pickoff. I think that was in either the fifth or the sixth inning. And then you get the flip side of the coin where the regression of the mean happens, where if you're going to get great defense from Wilson Contreras, large numbers means the errors are going to come from somewhere else because they're going to come from somewhere. And then you get Lars Nootbaar bobbling a ball literally an inning or two later. And so I guess my question is just, how sustainable do you believe the defense is long-term across this season? And how much do you think that is the biggest variable for this team, being, what they have been for the last 2 weeks, in August or September?
Oh, I think the defense is very sustainable.
Okay.
I think defense does go into slumps here and there, or you're going to have bad games here and there. But I was doing a lot on this today, and this is the best Cardinals defense I can recall in a long time. I mean, I can't pinpoint one that was better off the top of my head. But they went into today. They had 29 defensive runs saved. That's tied for fourth. They led the league with the major leagues, pardon me, on outs above average. They're according to Fielding Bible plus minus rating, which I believe in. They were a plus 24, which was second in the majors. And I also went, and I don't want to bore people too much with numbers, but I also went position by position and looked at them by position. Like, for example, their outfield defense in terms of the defensive runs saved, and that's anybody who played out there this year. They've got the best outfield defense in the National League and number 5 overall, and all those guys can play. So it's not a fluke. I think that's kind of what you're saying. Well, is this an example of guys who are like slightly below average playing over their heads? No, because we know Victor Scott can go get it. We know Lars Nootbaar in his career has been a really good defensive left fielder or playing in right field, and we know that Jordan Walker has improved dramatically out there. So Burleson even looks decent out there. So you look at the outfield. No, these guys are performing up to their ability level. I don't say any flukish about it. I mean, you go to first base. I think everyone's been just pleasantly surprised how good their first base position is. And even when they put Burleson at first base, he's been a plus defender. So he and Contreras, basically the Cardinals have I would say about the second or third best defense from the first base position so far, going by the metrics. Same with second base and Brendan Donovan. They're tied for third in outs above average, and that factors in Nolan Norman too. You look at shortstop, defensive outs above average, tied for second. Fielding run value, tied for third. You look at third base. Arenado wasn't all that great today, but whatever. He's entitled to have one of those days. At third base, they, you go to the Fielding Bible, they're second. You go to outs above average, they're first. And then, just right on down the line, even the pitchers have a plus rating defensively. But I think all these guys are good. It's not somebody who's like defending way over their head. It's just weird. There was a little uncertainty about Contreras, but I think it became pretty clear pretty soon that he knows what he's doing down there. And he's made a lot of really great plays. So I think he's a plus as well.
All right. I love talking about that. Something else that we've been seeing in the chat here, and please get into the chat. Make sure you also like and subscribe here, Sports Hub STL on YouTube, because when you do, you'll get notified whenever we go live. When are we going live? First of all, we're going live every morning, 10 a.m. with Randy Carricker and Brooke Grimsley. Brooke Grimsley, by the way, is going to be out for a little bit because she's expecting, but we're going to have a great cast of people filling in for her. So 10 a.m. every morning on the weekdays for the show. And then every time there is a sporting event in St. Louis, we're going live afterwards right here on Sports Hub STL, presented by DraftKings and Hot Shots. Ghostface Gaming says Herrera is a star. He could be the new Edgar Martinez DH. I'm going to throw up some numbers from Ivan Herrera as well. Ivan Herrera, since his return, he's played in 8 games. The Cardinals are 6-2 in those 8 games. 464 batting average, 515 on-base percentage, 714 slugging percentage, and a 1229 OPS. That does include his 2 for 3 from today's game. Ivan Herrera really has broken out since his return, Bernie.
Yeah, and I appreciate that Ali Marmol is primarily using him as a DH, which is where he belongs. We've talked about this, and I was harping about this all season. Well, starting at a certain point where he had enough games to go on, their production out of the DH position was an absolute embarrassment. I mean, it's like laughable stuff. Before Herrera returned from the IL, and that was May 9th, the beginning of this road trip, the Cardinals DH position, had produced 4 runs batted in 132 at bats. He's got 7 in 20 at bats. So does that tell you about the impact he's made? Right?
A little bit.
Seriously. Like, the numbers you put up are crazy, and they're all, except for one game, they're all DH numbers. And, they were last in slugging, their DH position before this road trip with him on it. They were, they had the second lowest batting average. I mean, they had a 250 slugging percentage from the DH spot up until through May the 8th, which was just 10 days ago, and then you plug him in DH, and that's why I was going nuts on one of the videos I do here on Sports Hub STL. So I don't want to hear about him catching. The guy's a natural born hitter. He's a beast. He's a scary, scary guy. You give him as many at bats as you can at DH, and that position's going to get a lot more productive. Then the other thing, I don't want to see him getting beat up behind the plate. They have two good catchers. But what's the point of getting him injured, beat up, tired? Let the man hit. That's what he does best. That's his position, hitter, right?
Works for me.
It is.
The craziest part about the DH being so bad is that at the same time we were talking about them having the worst DH stats in Major League Baseball, we were also talking about how there was too many players on the roster who could only play DH. So it was just we were right on the edge of another episode of Cardinals baseball where it was just everything went wrong, and we sat there and wondered how could the roster construction have led to this poor of an overall build. But Ivan Herrera's mashing, the DH spot's all good, and you got so many catchers that no one's talking about it. Pedro Pajes and Pozo with a solid game today behind the plate and at the plate respectively. Trey Wessel comes in here on the chat. He says never upset about winning a series, and it's a great road trip, but the lineup needs change, and that starts with Herrera in the 4 and Nolan in the 7 or 8. I'm gonna expand this comment because we saw the big hit in the big game from Jordan Walker yesterday. Randy Carricker's been banging the drum about moving Jordan Walker up to get him better pitching. So I'm going to expand the umbrella of this question, Bernie. Do you think they should move up players like Ivan Herrera and Jordan Walker in the lineup? And you can answer that separately or combined.
No, I would. I don't really have an opinion on Walker. I'd like to see a little more, but I think Randy Carricker has a worthy suggestion there. But it might get him more pitches to hit, good pitches to hit. But on the other hand, he could kill a lot of rallies or whatever. So they really need him, really need him to start hitting, and the offense can go from being very good to great. I think Herrera should be hitting in the middle of the lineup, but this idea that this is tied to dumping Nolan Arenado in the 8-hole is, frankly, it's just ludicrous because it's never going to happen. So what I'm trying to say is, I've used this phrase a lot because I have a big, huge door on my office here, and when you bang your head against it, it's really loud, and there's jagged edges. So for people to say, well, yeah, Arenado ought to be hitting 8th. That's like me going over to this door right now and banging my head against it 50 times. All I would get was a bloody face and forehead, and I would need to go get stitches. Why appeal for something that has zero chance of happening? I've just never understood that mentality. They're not going to do that. If you're going to talk about, you're talking about Herrera batting 4th. Yeah, I'm good with that. But they're not going to dump Arenado in the 7 or 8 spot, nor should they.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
But speaking of the lineup, and I'm going to get back to something you said about the DH spot, and they have too many DHs, and they do, in terms of their profiles. But it's really interesting. Ali Marmol, I thought today might be a day where he would say, well, this would be a good day to get Nolan Gorman in there. No. He had a chance to use Gorman as the DH. He could have put Brendan Donovan in left field, Gorman at second base, right? But no. And, we should read some tea leaves here because, look, we don't expect Nolan Gorman to start against left-handed pitchers, but against right-handed pitchers, I thought he would get more and more bats. But the amount of at-bats he's getting is going down. And part of it is because, number one, Burleson's breakout, and number two, obviously the arrival of Herrera. And we all knew someone would lose out in that. And the guy that's losing out on that is Nolan Gorman, as far as steady reps, constant reps.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes you wonder why people in sports don't make definitive comments. It's because when you make definitive comments, they immediately come back to bite you in the ass. Because the Cardinals made a definitive comment about getting Nolan Gorman, reps and things like that. And then as soon as that happens, Alec Burleson starts hitting again. Ivan Herrera returns and starts raking. everything just goes against their ability to get him those at bats. It's, Brendan Donovan, today took over the NL lead in hits again with his 14th double and his second 4-hit game of the season. So, everyone just keeps seizing the reins. And that's baseball. That's sports. That's everything. He hasn't seized the reins, and everyone else around him has. And when you don't take the chance and you can't just take it and seize it and win the job, you're always leaving the door open, and players have kind of stormed through it.
Yeah, Nolan Gorman, I was looking this up, Rock, while you were talking, and Nolan Gorman in the month of May so far has got 27 plate appearances, but on the road trip, which after all was 9 games, let me see here, he had 10 plate appearances. And he only played in 4 games. So during this very successful road trip, he played 2 in Washington and 2 in Philly, none at all in Kansas City. So what does that tell you? It's a runway year for him, but yet the manager is sort of moving in the other direction. He had 10 plate appearances on a 9-game road trip. So I think we know conclusively what the philosophy is right now about who's going to play, trying to accommodate Burleson, Gorman. Look, Herrera's going to be in there no matter what. So it really does come down to a Gorman or Burleson thing, the way I look at it, against right-handed pitching.
And I know it's an odd day as they lose 2-1 in a day where they had no offense to talk about the offense, but the bottom line is, for the most part, the majority of the lineup is hitting. Samuel Howe, or we had a chat up earlier from C. Ramirez, 1 through 9, this lineup is dangerous, and that's with little production from Walker. And it is, because I just talked about Donovan, we talked about Burleson, Contreras, Mason Wynn continues to hit. Alec Burleson specifically, obviously he had the big hit in today's game with the home run. That is his 4th home run in his last 25 at-bats. His slugging percentage now is going to jump up to about 8-something. His OPS will go up to about 1,300 since he's really started hitting in that Mets series back in the beginning of May. So, yeah, seeing Alec Burleson, again, just get out there and hit one, even though it was the only piece of offense. Everyone's hitting in this offense. Even Walker has a big night last night. It's a dangerous lineup and weird day to talk about it, but there's just it's hard to not focus on the big scheme after such a positive road trip.
Well, that's right. And, that's going to happen. And the Cardinals have actually been pretty good about avoiding low-scoring games offensively. But you also have to give credit to the Royals. The Royals can roll out some good pitching on you. And, the Cardinals, like today, for example, I don't think they took particularly good at bats. It was one of those days. Sometimes on these getaway days, I don't know, maybe I'm imagining things. It doesn't seem like they have their better offensive performances. I think they want to get home and all that stuff. But again, you get Michael Wacha was brilliant today. Did you see the way he was pinpointing so many of his pitches, and just throwing 4 different pitches, mixing things up, never knew what was coming. So the other side, as I like to say, they get paid to play baseball too. So, sometimes they get the best of you.
That's a very good point.
Here's another way to look at it. The last 2 games in Kansas City, they scored 2 runs and they split. They won one and lost one. Yeah, I think I'll take that every time.
Take it every time. Here's what you can do, guys, if you want to get involved with the game. DraftKings, the crown is yours, and their new game that is DraftKings Pick Six, an absolute blast because baseball season is underway, and it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick Six. Think of DraftKings Pick Six as your fastball right down the middle. I like to think of it as like an Adam Wainwright fastball in the All-Star game to Derek Jeter. Just take it and send it out there to the outfield. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick Six is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick Six credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Here's the thing. I'm going to go to my DraftKings Pick Six app. I'm going to go to the Cardinals game coming up next against the Tigers. But here's the thing. They're facing off against TBA on the mound. Ooh, TBA always scary. So I'm going to go less on a couple of Cardinals numbers. Brendan Donovan just had a 4-hit game. I'm going to go less on total bases for Brendan Donovan. And also let's go less on Nolan Gorman because I don't think he's going to play. And if he does, it'll be a pinch hit and maybe I can sneak one through that way. You can download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only from Pick Six from DraftKings, the crown crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
The always dreaded TBA against the Cardinals. Watch it be a rookie lefty, Bernie.
Yeah, they'd like to do that. Yeah, it sure is. I guess that'd be better than facing their ace. Do they face their ace? I haven't even looked at that series. Who might be pitching yet? I live in the moment. But it's going to be a tough homestand. The Cardinals have been 15-6 at home, but the Tigers are red hot. They're a legitimately very good baseball team, and then the Diamondbacks are. They're a live playoff contender. They're in a tough division, so they're going to take their lumps playing the Dodgers a lot, right? Or even playing the Padres a lot. But Arizona's a really good club, so this is going to be a tough homestand for the Cardinals. Challenging.
Yep, 6 games coming up against the Detroit Tigers. They have their usual off game on Thursday. They face off against the Diamondbacks, and then it's back on the road as they catch a AL road swing. They go off to Baltimore, your old stomping grounds, to face off against the Orioles, who are struggling, and they face off against the Texas Rangers. You're actually, you know what? I have you here. Do you have any thoughts about what's going on in Baltimore right now? Firing the manager and just the consternation around the Orioles.
As a team I grew up with, and I kind of keep an eye on them. I have my brother Brad in Maryland too, who's an avid Orioles fan, so we text every night. And they've had just a disgusting season. I mean, there's just way too much talent for that team to be, what were they, 15-28 when they fired Brandon Hyde. And the general manager, Mike Elias, deserves a lot of blame because he had a terrific roster. They won 100 games 2 years ago, 91 games last year. They're loaded with talent. They win Baseball America's Best Farm System thing, like the last 2 or 3 years. But they never added on to what they needed to get that team over the top. They took they did take a flyer on Corbin Burns last season. Okay. It didn't get him anywhere in the playoffs, but that's the kind of thing they should try to do. And they didn't give up that much when you look at that trade now, but they needed to build on this team. And they needed to strengthen their chances of just being more viable. And the problem is they did really nothing other than signing Zach Eflin, who's been okay, although he got bombed out today. But the rotation is an embarrassment. They do have some injuries. The bullpen has been very, very shaky. And you have a lot of players underperforming on that offense. But here's my brother was wondering what I thought about the firing. And I said, it's kind of harsh, but I think it was time, because people can say, well, the general manager didn't build out that club the way he should have following 2 great regular seasons. That's true. But if you still look at the Orioles roster, there's still a lot of talent on that roster, and there's no justification for them being 15-28. I've watched their games. They don't have any kind of identity. There's very little energy. I don't know what their philosophy is. There's a lot of empty at-bats. They don't seem like they play all out. They go all in. They just seem to be, for young hitters and all, they seem to be kind of cruising along. And if I may do this very quickly, I'll pivot to Ollie Marmol, for example. Now, you say what you want about Ollie Marmol, but to me, he has absolutely pretty much maximized his entire roster. Now, the haters would say, well, what about Gorman? What about Walker? Okay. So what you're saying there is that every guy on the team, before you're willing to give Ollie Marmol any credit at all 26 players have to be like star level players, or else somehow that makes him a failure. No, if you want to see a failure of a manager with a loaded roster who the players don't play for anymore, and they were just going through the motions and there was no energy, no life. That's what we're talking about. It isn't the manager in St. Louis. See, and that's how I differentiate. It's like I judge a manager on, not what Whitey Herzog did or Tony La Russa did, but it's like, what kind of talent has he been given? And, listen, you can't have it both ways if you're a Cardinals fan. We in the media can't have it both ways. We can't on one hand say, well, John Mozeliak's terrible. Look at this roster he put together. It's awful, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But then when the team does well, you can't say the manager's terrible. I mean, in other words, they got the best record.
Bernie, it's so funny.
They got the best record in baseball since April the 25th. Okay. I think they went in today, the best record in the National League in May. I mean, they're like 15-6 since April the 26th. So before the year, every single one of us, including me, is like, well, Mozeliak, boy, did he just mess this up? And they're going halfway. It's a runway season. It's a reset. He's stuck in the middle. Gosh, Ollie Marmol, there's no doubt he's going to get fired because, he's not that good of a manager. There's no way he can win with this roster. Well, he's winning with this roster. And if Cardinals fans are objective, they're watching a team that is hungry, that plays hard, that has a lot of fun. There's joy. They play the game with joy. They clearly have that great clubhouse thing going where these players completely love having each other as teammates. I mean, that team just looks so good. It passed the eye test, even on a day, like we say, there's going to be times where the offense gets shut down. A starting pitcher is going to get blown up. But Brandon Hyde got fired with a roster that had better talent going in, especially offensively, than the Cardinals in 2025. And they did nothing with it. And they were losing games in horrible ways. So anyway, I went on too long. But
no, it's fine. It was actually perfect.
That was my way of contrasting like how you evaluate managers. And the great Jim Palmer, my friend Jim Palmer, the great Hall of Fame pitcher, he went on X and said, even though he thinks Brandon Hyde's an excellent human being, but yeah, it was time because the players weren't playing for him. And when the players don't play for the manager, he's done.
Yep. I have two takeaways from that because that was fantastic. One, you talking about the balance, how you can't give them blame and credit in the same conversation. It's funny that you say that because we literally had a conversation that I wasn't going to give credit by putting it on the screen or reading the chat. But now that you brought it up, it's hilarious because we had this play out where Jay Lee, I don't agree with him at all, but he was blaming Marmol. He was basically saying, "Thank God Marmol and Mozeliak decided not to tank anymore," and which is a ridiculous premise, anyhow. But I love
that's borderline mentally ill.
Exactly.
How were they tanking last year when they exceeded their projected win total by? They were 83 and 79. They should have won 76 games. So how are they tanking?
It's ridiculous, but I loved it too because Jury Curto, had exactly your thought process. You can be amazed by it all you want, but if you're going to blame Mozeliak for tanking, then you have to give credit for the roster because roster construction is a multi-year project, and it's the same thing where it's like you can't be like he just flipped this switch magically and all of a sudden it's to your point. It's this balance where you can't eat your cake and have it too. And that's 100% what's happening here.
See, this is what happens when a huge amount of Cardinals fans are just all tangled up in hatred for either Mo or Marmol or both. So when the Cardinals are actually good, these people don't know what to say. They don't know what to say that's coherent because they have so much hatred for both of those guys, right? So if the team's going well, they're going to take sides. All of a sudden, if they hate Marmol more, all of a sudden they're going to give credit to Mozeliak. Although if we would have asked them about this before the season started, every one of them would have vomited. Okay, they would have vomited, right? But now because they don't want to give any credit to Marvel, now all of a sudden Mozeliak is Branch Rickey. What a conversion in a matter of 2 months! What an incredible conversion! Now the other thing is, I just love this because it exposes this lunacy for what it is. It's absolute lunacy. They can't enjoy watching a team that's fun, successful, energetic, enthusiastic. They play hard. They have great defense. And so how many times are your Cardinals said, "Oh, I remember when Whitey was that team played great defense." They got a team playing great defense. They have a team. Well, do they play small ball? They don't play small ball. They don't. I'm not a big fan of opposite field hitting like some people are, right? Because your power comes with pull side. The Cardinals lead the majors in opposite field hits. Hey. So they're taking the ball the other way. That's called small ball, okay? That's called small ball. The thing you don't accuse this manager of playing. They're not trying to hit home runs all the time. If they get a pitch they can drive to the opposite field, they do it. And the thing of it is, though, when they pull the ball, even though their pull rate's pretty low, they get a lot out of it. So, yeah, this stuff just kills me. Like, just always changing the standards, like always moving it around, right? Mo's the worst ever. Marmel's the worst ever. Okay, well then why are they winning? Why
we got into this because I brought up the Orioles because they have that away swing against the AL, Baltimore and the Rangers. And in fact, that final Rangers series, as they'll try to close out another winning series on the road, that is on Sunday, June 1st. And I'll tell you where the best place to watch that game is going to be is with our friends over at Hot Shots with their 35th anniversary party. We love our friends at Hot Shots. Obviously, the Hot Shots brings you these post games every time on Sports Hub STL. They invite you to come out to their St. Charles location Sunday, June 1st to celebrate their 35th anniversary with them. You're going to be able to watch the Cardinals game facing off against the Texas Rangers. It's a 1:15 first pitch. Well, the games and the fun starts at noon out at Hot Shots in St. Charles. A parking lot party featuring the Budweiser Clydesdales. What a better atmosphere to watch a Cardinals game than that. Prizes will be given away all day. A dart tournament at noon, a bags tournament at 2, plus a chance to win Hot Shots tacos for a year. How do you win Hot Shots tacos for a year? You eat a bunch of Hot Shots tacos because it's a Hot Shots tacos eating contest. That's just the best planning I've ever seen in my entire life. Also, you can have some fun with our friends from Rizzuto and Ray from 105.7 The Point. You can meet with the STL City SC bartenders, and those guys know what they're doing because they will celeb bartend at places like the Pitch all the time. Again, prizes all day, sample teams. What a great event out there. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. Hot Shots, St. Louis's home for all the games, all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshots.com. Bernie Miklasz and Matt Rocchio here on Sports Hub STL and the Cards Hub postgame. That's going to do it for us. Again, Cardinals back in action, back in Busch Stadium, facing off against the Detroit Tigers, and hopefully a little bit less red seats visible in the stadium, hopefully a little bit more red jerseys out there in the concourse. I think that should be the case, because I don't know about you, Bernie, but the conversation around the Cardinals has changed over this road trip. Let's get a final word on the success of the road trip and your expectation going forward here.
Yeah, well, I hope the fans will get behind this team because I like to say, I'll say it again, you can be mad at Bill DeWitt. There's reasons to be mad at him. You can be mad at John Mozeliak. There's reasons to be mad that they let this thing slide, right? But why take that out on the players? These guys are busting their asses for you. So what? I don't get it. You got to be able to separate the two. And oh, by the way, can I point out another thing about this team? The Cardinals slashed $40 million from their payroll, and they're better than they were last year. But yet, in these people, what I call them the one-issue voters, all they care about is payroll. Like, unless Bill DeWitt, the only way Bill DeWitt can please them is by spending money stupidly. A lot of, and oh, by the way, that's what they've been doing for too long. Okay. The Kansas City Royals have won a World Series and 2 pennants over a time where the Cardinals have neither one of those things. And during that time, you know how much more money the Cardinals spent than the Royals since 2014? $480 million. The Cardinals have spent more than $750 million in payroll than the Brewers since 2017. But yet, if you ask a lot of these fans, it's like, no, they got to spend. They got to spend. And my answer to that is like, oh, you want John Mozeliak to spend more money, do you? Wow. That's a really interesting suggestion for winning. Asking him to throw more money away? Okay. But I love the irony. And that's the other thing a lot of these people just won't be able to swallow. They slashed $40 million and they're a better team. Interesting to me. That's my final word.
There it is. All right. This has been Cards Hub postgame, brought to you by Hot Shots, St. Louis's home for all the games, all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com and by DraftKings. The crown is yours. For Bernie Miklasz, I'm Matthew Rocchio. Have a great day, St. Louis. Tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Randy Carricker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley without Brooke Grimsley. And then we'll also have a Cards 365 tomorrow, as we always do. Thank you, St. Louis. Stay tuned to Sports Hub STL.